I don't know how to start a video, but I'm Hootless, and this is Factorio episode 9, I think. Maybe episode 10 even. And we sort of continue to set up blue pack production here. Gotta drag everything together, create some battery production for the most part is what we need. And we're getting pretty close to blue pack era. And with blue packs comes eventual progress. It will take a little while to get things done just because we can't create a whole lot of blue packs all at once just yet. We can start producing them slowly, but it will be slow. And there's not really much way we can fix that just yet. I mean, we can put down more pump jacks and more oil refineries with more chemical plants and get all the ratios just perfect so that we can create batteries really quickly. But the downside about that is that we have to have a lot of pump jacks down, and we just can't do that with the space we have right now. Maybe eventually, though, we will set that up. Our existing refinery setup for plastic is not going to be enough to also support making batteries. So as a result, we put down 2 more pump jacks right outside the wall here, and then we extend the walls around. And we pipe the crude oil way back up to the factory rather than setting it up down here and conveyor belting it back. It probably takes more iron to do it this way, but I'd rather just pump the liquid back mostly underground and then deal with it way back up at the factory instead of having to do the whole massive conveyor belt again. I considered briefly the idea of just putting the batteries or the sulfur or whatever I happen to make down here, if I had made it down here. I considered putting it onto the conveyor belt with the plastic, but way up the line there's like a splitter that load balances the plastic onto both sides anyways, so I'd have to pull it off before then, and I figured that was just too inconvenient for me to do. I probably could have managed it pretty easily, but at the same time I figured I'd just do it this way. This is a little bit longer than yesterday's video at like 17 minutes 20 instead of a little over 15 minutes or whatever yesterday's video was. And that's just because I was getting really close to finishing up what I had been working on for the entire episode, so I figured I'd finish it, or at least get it to a somewhat workable point and then stop. Also, you guys may have noticed that although the poll did go through, like I've finished it basically, so no more votes are being counted. Dark Souls did win for the 4 p.m. video slot. However, there's an issue where Dark Souls, it runs on my computer, but the keyboard controls are really wonky, and like I can't play at all with the keyboard and mouse. And my only controller that I have disconnects all the time, and even when it's connected, I can't hold down the left stick, which is what you use for movement in Dark Souls, for more than about a second and a half before it slows down to nothing. And my controller, if I keep holding forward, it actually starts going back instead. Basically, the longer I hold it forward, the less forward it counts as, until it's counting as being backwards. And that's not very conducive to a game where you have to have like really good reaction times on everything. So I'm going to put off playing Dark Souls for now until I can get a new controller. I haven't decided what to put in its place yet. If I go by the poll and do the second place thing, then that'll be the Binding of Isaac challenges. And I might do that. I might just not have a 4 p.m. video slot for a little while. 2 videos a day is probably enough anyways, especially with one of them being 15 minutes each time. 15 minutes-ish. Yeah, that's basically the state of things right now. Star Drops and Rare Crows is coming closer to being finished, the Stardew Valley series. So we'll see about that. It is in fall on there, so I do have to start wrapping things up pretty quickly, like within a month and a half in that series in-game. I realized here that I've just had 2 auto miners mining the entire factory supply of copper, and that is not nearly enough. So I make 6 more miners to start with, and then I'm also going to make probably another twice that, make it like 20 total miners, I think. I don't remember how much I end up making. But we do need more copper at some point. The circuits need it, and we need a lot of circuits, so it would be good to be keeping up with copper. Also, the furnaces that I have settled down right there aren't enough to process all of the copper ore that we are then mining, so I make steel furnaces at some point. There's a huge biter wave going on here from that base that you can see on the map just to the south. Like the southeast, I think it is? Yeah, southeast. There's that nest there. So after repairing the walls, I gather up some ammo. I make sure that I refill these. The reason the biter attack almost breached our wall a little bit at the end, but almost destroyed everything there, is that the turret next to that wall ran out of ammo. So there was only one of the 2 turrets doing anything, which is not what you want to have happen when there's massive biter attacks coming once in a while. So I think I like refill it initially, and then I go stock up and decide to turret creep towards that base. And turret creeping, again, is just where you put down 2 turrets, like far enough away that you haven't aggroed the biters yet, so they aren't coming after you. And you put ammo in them, and then you move forward so you can draw the biters back towards the gun turrets. And after that wave is clear and you have enough time to put down more turrets, you put down some more turrets closer to the base and put ammo in those, and then you move the further away turrets closer. And you keep doing that until the turrets are actively shooting the biter nests, and that's what turret creeping is. It's pretty handy for like early game destroying biter nests. You don't want to destroy too many biter nests too quickly though, because the more you destroy them, the faster the biters do evolve. Which means that if you destroy a whole bunch of nests really early, you might be able to secure like an extra resource field or 2, but also it's going to become more and more difficult to keep up with how quickly they're evolving. Yeah, I pick up both of the turrets there, so I can go turret creep the base. If they start evolving too quickly, then you're going to have real issues as you go into late game, because you just can't keep up technologically with how quickly they're evolving. And then they just start outpacing you, and that's how you lose in Factorio. Here's massive amounts of biters come over for the initial wave. Enough that, fortunately, I had my own gun that I was firing, because the gun turrets probably wouldn't have been able to kill them on their own. So I draw a second wave before placing down any more turrets. And then I quickly place the ammo in. I do miss the autofill mod, because autofill does put bullets into your gun turrets when you place them down. So it's really easy to turret creep like that, since you can just carry, 10 turrets with you and 100 bullets, and you can do a sweeping motion of putting down a bunch of turrets at once. It's pretty effective. Like I've said, I might play with some quality of life mods like autofill in a future series. But at least in this one, the main point is to try to get the achievements, and I can't get the achievements on Steam if I'm using mods of any kind. I don't think there's any kind of indicator. Like, I don't think it distinguishes between how much benefit you get from autofill versus how much you get from, like, Factorissimo or orbital ion cannon or whatever. Just, essentially it doesn't distinguish between quality of life mods that make it a little bit easier to play and mods that are really overpowered and give you lots of stuff to win easier with. So even though autofill would make it easier, it's technically something I can already do, because I can just put in the ammo anyways. It just takes me a couple extra clicks. So it's kind of annoying that I can't get achievements if I install that kind of mod. But when I'm doing a challenge run here at Factorio where I'm not trying to go for an achievement, and I don't know, like, when that would happen. If I was just doing my own off-the-cuff achievement type thing, then that would probably happen. But for now, at least, I'm planning on doing achievement runs like the ones we're doing right now, which are raining bullets and steam all the way. And then future runs are going to be, for example, the speedrunning ones that I can't remember the name of right now. The I'm trying to remember like what the other achievements are. There's the Lazy Bastard achievement, which is win by crafting no more than 111 items manually. There's Logistics Network Embargo or something like that, where you can't use specifically active provider chests and like requester chests. So basically, you can't make a logistics network. You can still use logistics robots so that they can deliver items to you, but overall, it removes your ability to make a logistics network, essentially. So I finally set up the oil refinery here, and I put down storage tanks for all of the gases and oils that I get out of it. And then I start putting it through the processing chain of turning petroleum gas and water into sulfur crystals. The sulfur yellow crystal things. And then I turn the sulfur crystals with, I want to say, iron into the sulfuric acid. It's like the sulfur, iron, and water, yeah. And then once I have sulfuric acid, I can turn sulfuric acid and iron and copper, I think, into batteries. And batteries is the end goal here of this production chain. I can speed this chain up by adding in more chemical plants doing the processing. I could speed it up by putting in more petroleum gas, because the main limiting factor here is essentially that sulfur requires petroleum gas to be made, and I need more petroleum gas being created from crude oil. If I could get the petroleum gas going into the sulfur thing, then it would speed up the entire process just by nature of being able to produce more crystals quicker. And yeah, that's basically that. If I could get sulfur being produced regularly, then I could get sulfuric acid being produced regularly. If I can get sulfuric acid being produced regularly, then I can create more chemical plants to do more batteries at once. And if I get lots of batteries, lots of red circuits, lots of filter inserters, and lots of steel plates at once, then I can get lots of blue packs at once. And that's where we want to be at eventually. So, we are close, like somewhat close to being able to make blue packs and, you know, start doing blue pack science. That is the goal here. Yeah, I moved the copper and the iron down to the battery place. Oh, excuse me, always with the yawns. Once we have blue packs going, like I researched logistics 2 here, so we will... Oh, wait. I guess I don't research logistics 2 just yet. Oh, because I just researched it, I think. But, once we have blue science going, we can begin researching upgrades for the logistics bots and also the actual tech logistics system. The logistics system tech allows you to have, I think, you can have passive provider chests when you research logistic robots themselves, but researching the logistics network tech allows you to use active provider chests and requester chests, and the difference between those is if you have a passive provider chest, then it will provide items. I'm trying to remember exactly how it works. It's basically, if you have a passive provider chest, then it has to be requested to be obtained. I think that's how that works. Let me think for a second. I'm pretty sure... Okay, that's what the difference is, right? I didn't look it up or anything. I just remembered. I had to think about it for a second. Passive provider chests will only give up the items that they have inside of themselves if there is a request for that item. So if you're using logistics slots in your inventory and you request an item, then it can pull from a passive provider chest. Or if there's a requester chest, you can have it request items and it will pull from a passive provider chest. There's also active provider chests, and what those do is they will actively provide their inventory. Like, they will actively try to get their inventory out of themselves, which means that if you request it with a logistics slot, it'll get rid of the item from your inventory. If you have a requester chest, then it will pull from the active provider chest. And if you have a storage chest, which is a yellow chest, it's another variant on the logistics network, then active provider chests will seek to move their inventory into storage chests actively. So they'll try to empty themselves out. The requester chests, you can choose what items you want delivered and how many of each of those items you want in the chest, and it will keep up to that number. If it goes below that number, it'll dispatch robots to move the items into the chest if it can from the existing network. And storage chests, their purpose is they basically function as a passive provider chest, so robots won't get stuck in a constant loop of like moving stuff from an active provider chest into a storage chest. There was a super loud plane flying over my house here, so I cut this part out. Again, sorry about the planes. For some reason, they're passing over my house like all the time today. Storage, like robots won't move stuff between storage chests and active provider chests over and over, so the storage chests technically function as a passive provider chest. And once, like, if something is needed, it will pull from a storage chest like it would a passive provider chest. So, in other words, if you have a logistics slot, or if you have a requester chest, then it'll pull from the storage warehouse, the storage chest. I believe also if you have logistics trash slots, it'll pull from your inventory and put into a storage chest. I'm not sure if it can put into a passive or active provider chest. But either way, we're coming up on the end of the video here. So hope you guys all enjoyed this video. As usual, it's longer form than Stardew Valley normally is. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys all next time.